called Keeping the Promise Anyways, and it's a love poem. She had hair that ate up the sun's laughter. He had a smile that crossed oceans and back. They created galaxies with their palms, and yet their stars never aligned. But he was an asteroid, and the moment he bumped into her radiance, a meteor he became. For she was his Earth, a world he traveled light years just to graze. Yet time is but a curse that shrink-wraps always into furs long before goodbye. But who is time but a figment, and him and her would not let numbers and colons and boxes of calendars imprison them to a life left fearful of an end. And they felt tingles in their toes that sleepwalked through their veins, and climbed ladders of marrow to the forts in their ribs, knowing nothing but the hum of synchronized lungs. She wanted to breathe him in and never exhale. She said sorry, for she could not avoid staring at him anytime he reached her peripherals, for her heart stutters, and she loses her ability to move. He read the goosebumps on her skin like Braille for the blind. It was a sixth sense that made his hands tremble, and he failed to realize how amazing it felt when time feels slow, the kind of time found in slow dancing and stargazing. And in a moment, tears became rain, and hails pumped through her soul and heart, for she had to go away for a while, away as in an explosion of reality that opened up Cloud 9 and brought it down to Earth. Because all good things that hang so tight to the ropes of familiarity at some point go numb and sweat along twine that has no arms to hold. And he did not have ways to say the antonyms for hello. And those words, they line up, bumping into each other like customers on Black Friday, and rearrange and prove themselves dyslexic. And sound is a silent movie, and he forgets how to speak. For his tongue is tied and his heart is weak. And then the countdown went from months to weeks, days were diamonds, and minutes were lined up just hoping they could last 61 seconds instead. And he uttered, "I'm not coming home until you're there again. It's not the same with silence in our hearts, and I painted answers on my hands. Will you stay or go away?" The sweat between my palms made them blur, roots of ink along faults that crack earthquakes in our hands, hands that held quivering promises chained to the bending of pinkies. But I can't see the ocean without having storms, rain gutters that break in the lining of the eye that caves in first, and I can't hear the ocean without thunder. And I can't eat at that little hole in the wall down that street, for the evokes pain up my spine, curving it to a degree that needs geometry. And the smell of fresh laundry hammers away through a maze with no exit, a maze for the brain but not for the mind. Yet I can't come home unless you return. Because I thought I dated the envelopes right and paid enough for the postal fees, and yet the bubble wrap had been popped by bandits, and the effing fragile was all that was left. And everything was broken. Because I feel as if I need to soak up your voice as much as I can until you become annoyed of my own, just in order to know I will still hear it once you're gone. And before you leave, if you allowed my body next to yours in the darkest and yet most magical moments of night, could I write such beautiful lyrics that only you could create the music to? That only we could hear, because it was the way you tore apart my mind with all the conversations that was running through your head. It was your intellect that stirred me out of bed, and I swear I commit sins in such heavenly ways. And I would wait my whole life, suffer eternity, just to be able to hold your hand one last time. But the bed seems so lonely with just one person, because you left your fingerprints on the wings of gilded butterflies that formed tornadoes in the basement of my stomach. So fetal I lay, and the ceiling was removed and the walls grew tighter, and above was the same patch of night sky that people halfway around the world could see. And I tried to count all the stars, and I tried to squish them into dust clouds for overseas flight, and I wanted to name them all for you. Because they were the dimples that formed hugs around smiles, and I wanted to yell to the comets to make detours and land in your backyard, like fireworks at the happiest place on earth, and I wanted galaxies to exist just for us. And I covered my face, and I pretended I was an astronaut, but the night is dark, and yet stars were playing an eternal game of hide and seek. For we live in the city, and some lights they shine too bright and block out the existence of others, but the sun always rises just like your smile, and my memories of you will lay dormant but will never be removed, for I have your aura tattooed in my cerebellum. And you are leaving, but you aren't really leaving, because I love you, and the people you love are yours forever. And they say that forever is a heavy word, but for you I'd fight to keep its relevance always. Because seeing your laughter after all this time was like seeing the universe be created and destroyed and then created all over again.